This photographer is incredibly well traveled, considered the pioneer of color photography in Europe, and has committed himself to so many projects throughout the course of his life that it's best to look at each to consider what he has contributed to the world of street photography through that lens. This is Street Smarts Volume 18, Harry Gruyaert. Born in 1941 in Belgium, Gruyaert had photography on his mind from a very young age. I never thought about anything else. I always knew that I wanted to do photography. His ambition to become a photographer was the thing that spurred him to leave home, where he had lived under the influence of the Catholic Church through God, the Pope, and his father throughout his childhood and adolescence. The strict upbringing he had, paired with the desire to pursue photography, led him to travel the world and meet others he admired who had the same passions. From 1959 through 1962, he studied at the School of Photography and Cinematography in Brussels. In 1962, he would take his first steps towards globetrotting when he moved to Paris and then London to work as a freelance photographer. Shortly thereafter, he would begin shooting a variety of projects that he would work on throughout the course of his life, joined Magnum in 1982, and continued to travel to India, Morocco, Egypt, the US, Russia, and several other countries in pursuit of his photography dreams. Harry began photographing Morocco as far back as 1972, and the country still inspires his photography to this day. He claims that Morocco influenced how he interfaces with the world and his surroundings, because people react to photography differently in different places. With this, he discovered location-specific tricks to get the photos he was looking for. Making a photograph means both seeking content and refusing it, being the most there and being the least there at the same time. In the field, it's a real battle with reality, a kind of trance to record an image or perhaps miss the whole thing. It's in this struggle that I find myself at my best. Morocco is the expression of this particular tension, halfway between exaltation and rapture. Since he began taking photos in Morocco, he has produced 3 books covering the location that were released in 1990, 2013, and 2024. Harry claims that the most recent work is a reflection on himself more than on Morocco, because he was perhaps influenced by the more cinematic approach of photo montage. This book is made up of a series of sequences or short trips, which serve as variations on the same theme, the fascination that this country has exerted on me for more than 50 years. The photos he had put together in this book are his longing and searching to rediscover fleeting moments from his past that he experienced in the country. As far as techniques are concerned, Gruyaert has relied on travel, working alone, shooting film, and serendipity where color, form, and light come together to create his photos. Travel seems to be one of the techniques he had used time and time again to find inspiration, especially in regard to photographing his own country. He had felt Belgium was too bland for him to photograph, but after working in India, Japan, and Morocco, he found the beauty of banality to his home country to work on projects there. He finds that being a photographer is a solitary quest, because you have to be given the ability to follow your instincts and not worry about where the instincts of others will take you. Part of this is due to his fascination with coincidence. He now shoots digital and has for some time, but believes film gave him the discipline to shoot digitally. His preference for digital now is that he enjoys the great control over printing and feels that it allows him to bring justice to the colors that he wants to see in his published work. The colors that are found in the decor, lighting, cars, and other details he has found to be as important as humans in his work, which is apparent when viewing many of his photos where the interplay between humans and any of the inanimate objects found in the often complex and layered frames are unified. This is embodied through a statement that he made that he's interested in that strange magic that occurs when things come together. Outside of street photography, Gruyaert also took a foray into sports photography. He did so through the Tour de France in 1982. He was able to capitalize on his street photography techniques when photographing the event because, like street photography, the Tour de France happens out in the open, in public, and in real time. What interested me most was everything going around, the people waiting, and the whole atmosphere, and the villages and the mountains and the motorcycles going down at hundreds of kilometers an hour down the mountain. It was so exciting. The exhilaration Gruyaert felt can be seen in the photos that capture the event in a way that is different from a lot of sports photography being produced at the time, and photos of this exact style can never be produced again for a variety of reasons. One is obviously the time that they were taken. Beyond that, photographers are no longer allowed to take photos from a bike inside the peloton. They can go some distance ahead or behind the cyclist outside of the course, but cannot be among them. The work has been rescanned more recently, and you can see Harry's style in the photos. And it's something street photographers should take as inspiration to maybe try something outside of the norm that applies some of the same facets of street photography. A good image is controlled chance, a kind of small miracle that arises when you're receptive and concentrated. This is a statement Gruyaert made in relation to a project that consisted of TV snapshots. Bear in mind that this project was conceived and created before the time of VCRs, so the ability to pause and capture a moment on TV was otherwise impossible. The project was influenced by pop art and was created by using the TV's antennas to create distortion in the colors and visuals that were displayed upon it. This was intended to be a documentary project that conveyed the way people experienced what was being broadcast to them at the time. Topics ranged from the Munich Olympics hostage situation to the Apollo mission to British soap opera Coronation Street. Some controversy surrounded the exhibition of this work that took place in 1974 because of how it called out both the mundane absurdity of modern life that humanity was experiencing through the ever-growing consumption and influence of television, and from how it made viewers ask questions about press photography and how news was covered in general. When I discovered pop art in New York at the end of the 1960s, I realized that you can look at our consumer society differently, with both insight and a sense of humor. Although this project is extremely different from the rest of his work, it's worth pointing out because this is where Gruyaert began to think more broadly about what projects could be and how photography could be used to make statements about society at large. Black and white comes from the brain, color from the stomach. Color is more sensual. It was definitely an independent need to be a color photographer. I found out about the American color photographers Eggleston and Shore much later. Gruyaert's early use of color has given him a reputation for being the European pioneer of color photography. But it wasn't until he got out of Europe that this use of color was truly unlocked for him. Gruyaert claims that Belgium was so bland to him that it didn't demand the use of color, and black and white film seemed to suit it. His perspective completely changed through his experiences in Morocco and India, where colors were so vibrant that he felt the experience of being in the place could only be captured on color film. For me, photography is not only about composition and color, it has to say something about the time and the place. Although the intense colors of Morocco and India inspired Gruyaert to move to color, it wasn't in these places alone that he would use color. Instead, he would be pushed to use color photography for the majority of his work from there on out, even in places where it was less dynamic. Different places give you different color palettes to work with. And that's very clear in my last book, East-West, which confronts the dull colors of Moscow in 1989 with the harsh and aggressive colors of LA and Las Vegas in 1981. In 1982, Gruyaert joined Magnum Photography and became one of the first members to shoot entirely in color along with Alex Webb. More recent work from Gruyaert include Edges and Airports. Edges is a book that explores places where land meets water and how humans interact with these environments. This work includes photos taken over 26 years all over the world. The span of time that passed when these photos were taken show photos that are different from a lot of his other work and show the benefit of creating something over a long span of time. Gruyaert's most recent book, Last Call, includes photos from airports that were taken all over the world. This project truly showcases that great photography work can be created anywhere. Describing it, Gruyaert has stated, "I've always been fascinated by places where people wait. I love to watch their movements, their postures, their gazes, the groups that they form, those situations that occur in those peculiar moments when time is standing still. For this reason, I'm interested in stations, bus stops, and tram stops. But airports are special places because they have a remarkable theatricality about them. The architecture, the furniture, and the colors combine to make a set with a host of players gliding through as if they are on stage. It's like a performance that I can't begin to understand, but its visual dimension always draws me in." Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep developing.